I left the bar that we were in just for some air, and I went for a walk outside, and I sat down on a table outside, and I looked in and I saw like all my friends, people that had travelled to like come see me, and I like looked through the window, and obviously they were still having a good time while I wasn't there, and I felt that I didn't need to be there, so then I just walked off.
Hi, I'm James, I'm from Bristol. I started a brand called Goof Golf specifically to help people with their mental health, and I'm here to talk about my journey with Danny and what has helped me along the way. So golf was never my main sport. So I was a tennis player when I was a kid. So I used to play more tennis than I did go to school. So I used to play tennis like 20, 30, 40 hours a week. And that was my main thing, quite a serious athlete from about 12. It was always my favourite thing from like 8 to 12. I was tennis obsessed. I didn't think about anything else. I'd be volleying like balls in my bedroom and stuff, and my parents would be telling me to stop it, and the thing I loved more than anything in the world. And then it became this thing that was just my whole life, and then it stopped being a hobby and started feeling like a job at quite an early age. I got to a good enough level, but the thing that always held me back was the mental side of the game. And there'll be people that might end up watching this that knew me from when I was a kid. I was a very, very angry child on the tennis court, borderline humorous from the outside, but obviously, you know, those things from the inside aren't quite as funny. And it was the kind of thing that eventually led me to stop playing between like 17 and 18, where it got to the stage where it was quite a self-destructive thing. I used to break a lot of equipment. I used to basically not enjoy the thing that I used to love more than anything else. What I tended to slip into in my adult life was I would keep achieving in certain ways, but I knew I wasn't 100% happy while I was achieving those things, because I knew that I was always looking back on my past as somewhat of a failure. And I've only really delved into that properly through therapy and other strategies in the past couple of years, because it was never a problem. And because I never had any outward facing problems in terms of addictions or any negative behavior, I never found the time to deal with it. And it kind of bubbled up and up and up through my early 20s. And then it started to become a problem like 3 or 4 years ago, where it would manifest in me spending time away from people, from reacting to certain activities like drinking and gambling and other things that normally weren't a problem, but then they would start to become a problem just because I hadn't realised that that's what I was using to cope beneath the surface. Because I always thought that I shouldn't have felt bad because my upbringing was good. Simple things like my parents are still together. They were always supportive. Family life was always good. There was never any outward pressures for me in particular. Any pressures I always have given myself have been inward ones. So in terms of things and explaining feelings that I was having, it was always quite difficult because I always felt they weren't justified. And I think kind of the key part of messages that I want to pass to people is that even if you don't feel like your feelings are justified, there is a reason in there somewhere, and taking the time to find that reason is really important, and you just can't ignore it. Gambling was one of the things that was having a massively negative impact on my life. It's still something that I want to be able to enjoy again, in the same way that we all like to go out and have a beer. It doesn't mean you need to go out and have 20 beers to feel better. So part of my journey was realizing that gambling was that negative dissociation that I was doing to try and feel better. And it wasn't even like that. I'm massive on lots of different sports, but it wasn't to like make sport more interesting for me. It was purely because I was getting this positive feeling from it that I wasn't getting from anywhere else. And it was really scary how it grew through time. and how I was using that outlet in such a negative way, and how just a little bit is never going to be enough. And there might be someone watching this that is going through those steps themselves, where it is a gradual incline. And then I had a period where you might do really well at it, and that's not actually a good thing. Like, it'll make you feel really, really good, but it's never sustainable. Someone might try and tell you that it's sustainable, you'll justify it to yourself, but it's never a sustainable form of dissociation or enjoyment. I think that the best way that I can describe how I felt was that nothing mattered and I didn't matter. They're the two main things, really. When it was probably at its worst, it was all about taking me as a person out of situations, feeling that I didn't need to be there and that I didn't have a purpose. There was a very significant period when I was at my worst. I used to really struggle on my birthday, and I had a group of people come to where I was living, and we had like a celebration and stuff. And I remember we were out drinking at the time. I left the bar that we were in just for some air, and I went for a walk outside, and I sat down on a table outside, and I looked in and I saw like all my friends, people that had travelled to like come see me, and I like looked through the window, and obviously they were still having a good time while I wasn't there, and I felt that I didn't need to be there, so then I just walked off, which obviously was a bad thing to do. And I just walked off in the rain, away from everyone else. And obviously people noticed that I'd gone after a certain amount of time, and they came and found me. Obviously I won't go into too many details about where I went and what I did at that particular time. But yeah, it was just that feeling of not knowing whether you needed to be in the world or not, and that you were important to people and had a purpose. So I remember my friend Harry, the first thing he said to me was, right, I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to drive to your house now. He lived in Exeter. So I was down in Cornwall for Christmas. He lives in Exeter. He's like an hour and a half. So I drove. He was like, right, I'm coming out. I was like, you don't have to come now. It's fine. Like, don't worry. It was very much like a jump, call to action sort of thing. It's like people will be there for you in the immediate sense if it is that bad. And I think that was like a really good thing for me to realise that people were there in the immediate sense, even though that was probably true the whole way along. But you don't always realise that until it actually happens. When I first started going to therapy, I didn't tell anyone. I didn't tell parents, friends, anyone. I basically went online, searched. I lived in Bristol at the time, searched like Bristol therapy sessions, and I found this centre where you could go to and you could talk to like trainee therapists, so people doing a degree in it. So it was quite cheap, or cheaper. And I went and spoke to this guy for about 9 months, and it was my first time being in what I would describe as like a truly neutral environment, and it was quite important for me to finally be sat in like a neutral space with someone who doesn't know me. They're still a human being. I still know they're listening to me, and I still know that they care, but they don't care on a personal level. Whenever I play, or whenever I used to play, I never used to keep score. Whenever I used to go play with people that play golf, I would just go to play with them. I wouldn't be bothered about how I would do. I would just be there for a chat, for a walk, and just for the enjoyment of playing a sport with no pressure. So many things that you have to do nowadays that are almost obligations in life. There's lots of things you've got to do that you don't necessarily want to do. And that's where golf was starting to be a bigger point of my life, that I always knew that when I was going to play, that was the thing that I wanted to do. It was time for me to do that, and it couldn't be taken away from you at any point, because once you've started it, then you can't really stop. If you're out on the 6th, you're not going to walk all the way back and then stop it. It's harder to reach you. And the only comparison I had at the time was the only other place where I truly felt okay was when I used to go on long haul flights, which was quite strange because it was being put in an environment where I knew that I couldn't do anything. I couldn't improve, I couldn't answer an email, I couldn't do anything positive. I was just like, well, you can't reach me, I can't achieve anything. So I felt calm. Where I see myself now is just more prepared than I ever have been. I think if ever I start to slip back, it's far easier for me to realise that. It's just that one word, really. I know it's good to give those long embellished answers, but just being prepared and having that understanding is where I feel now within my journey. And what we just spoke about is I'm more prepared to have those check-ins with people. I'm more prepared to deal with the negatives when they come up. And I can only see that getting better through time. I think what makes mental health conversations so difficult is that what I was always worried about is that it would change people's perception of me. Sorry.
Take time.
And even though it still gets me upset now, and I like to describe myself in a good place, and I don't go to the same things that I used to go to, is still, I find it quite an emotional thing, because I know there's still a lot of people out there that have the same issues.